Well, as a youngster, I was curious. I enjoyed taking things apart and figuring out how they worked, putting them back together, and trying to figure out how to make things work better. My dad was a World War II vet from Guadalcanal, and didn't talk about that. He was the chief of our little village, but also worked for the government in police work for 40 years. He taught me the honor code a long time before I came to the academy, and that you only get one integrity in your life, and if you screw it up, it's screwed up forever. I was actually collecting for my paper route one day, and went to the home of Major Gus Grissom shortly after he'd been named as one of the Mercury astronauts. He had been at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base prior to that and lived in our little village. And we spent about an hour just talking about what it's like to be a pilot, how to get there, that I might even consider looking at that brand new Air Force Academy that had opened. And so I rode off to the Air Force Academy and got a poster from them and put it up on my wall. Started aiming myself towards the academy. And on my birthday, the 31st of December of '65, around noon, my dad picked up the phone and he said, "Yes, sir, just a minute," and handed me the phone, and it was Congressman Brown, and he said, "You have placed out #1 on my list. What academy would you like to go to?" I was pretty good in math and physics in high school, and so I got into the physics master's program, and in my third year summer, did a summer research project in Albuquerque. Somewhere in there, being locked in a lab in Albuquerque, New Mexico, realizing that that was going to be my future if I stayed in physics. Vietnam was full bore at that point in time, and my classmates were going to Vietnam, and I wanted to be where they were. And so I decided to switch over from the physics master's program to going to UPT. As a student, we were the first class to go through Syria at the academy, and that was an experience in itself. And from Syria, I learned a lot of things, but teamwork was a biggie. When I was a Syria instructor a couple of years later, and realized that all along, that's what we were being taught. It wasn't just one person trying to be the hero, it was the team working together as a team. We've all taken an oath to protect each other, and we all meant it, and we still do, actually. Having the honor code, learning it, and understanding it, and realizing it, that it was not something that was for your time at the academy, it was your life. I went off to undergraduate pilot training, and about the time we were coming up on choosing airplanes, we started coming back from Vietnam. And the word was out already that pretty soon you were going to get 2 hours a month based on what airplane you took. I talked with my squadron commander about what would be a good airplane to choose, and they suggested a T-38 because I would get lots of hours very quickly, and it would allow me to be able to move on to other airplanes. Graduated and became an instructor pilot, and went back to Laughlin and Del Rio. Had a wonderful time. I was trying to decide what to do with the rest of our lives. Jenny and I had just built a house in Del Rio, and I said, well, I'm thinking about what I want to look back on 35 years from now, and what I've done in life, and how I could best serve. And I said, I'm actually thinking about going to medical school. I figured she was going to go, are you kidding me? We just built this house. And instead she said, you want to go to medical school? Let's go to medical school. So I applied to several medical colleges and was accepted at Baylor and Southwestern. Baylor was much more clinically oriented, #1, but #2, you could do the 4-year program in 3 years if you wanted to. You double overload in the academic year. I graduated from Baylor College of Medicine, did my internship in OB-GYN and medicine at Wilford Hall Medical Center in San Antonio. I was very much interested in doing microsurgery, and the Air Force at that point in time was not interested in infertility specialty. That's what I actually wanted to do. Pilots rely on ophthalmology quite a bit and seeing, and so that was important to me. More importantly was the surgery, the type of surgery you could do, which was very fine and very, very controlled, and you had to be patient and take your time. And I didn't like the way the instruments were designed from a standpoint of hand and eye coordination. And so I designed handles that moved minimally from the position of function, so you were less likely to move the instrument elsewhere. You were able to keep it right where it was. several companies picked that up, and since I was active duty, I wasn't patenting any of these things because I couldn't, for one, and another reason I didn't really care about that, I just wanted to get better instruments for the patients. So I finished the fellowship at Duke and went back to Wilford Hall. I came in as the vice chairman of the department and the residency program director, and then moved up to the chairmanship and chief consultant of the Air Force Surgeon General in a very short time. I also was fortunate to be on the Letterman Army Institute of Research. It's basically all top secret programs that you're talking about. So I fortunately got to go out there every so often and see everything from weapons to medical devices and vote on what we should do, or approve or not approve. So that was a lot of fun doing that as well. I had sort of headed myself to stay in the Air Force, and in 1988 took the SG course for hospital commanders, but I developed a metastatic thyroid cancer and had a radical neck dissection. We decided that I should get out and go to one of the academic centers that immediately provide you with a $3 or $4 million insurance policy. I have a young son and a young wife, and I didn't want them left with nothing. If I had a crystal ball, I would have stayed in. I don't know if I've made it up to a star or two or three, but I certainly would have liked to have tried. I don't sit around well. I like doing things and getting things done, and so we became involved in lots of different things that we either started or helped to start. We decided to form an official chapter, and we have a bunch of really young grads and older grads that have jumped in and are superstars at creating our chapter. We were the distinguished chapter every year so far. Probably 7 or 8 years ago, Dale Shockey approached me about the possibility of becoming a founding director. I went to a meeting and decided to do it, and so we joined as a founding director, and I'm currently doing the Planned Giving Committee, running the Planned Giving Committee, and I'm on the Strategic Planning Committee and the new Finance Committee, which just started. We're trying to do a lot to improve the Academy and improve the cadets' ability to do research and the like. I think heritage tells us who we are, who we've been, where we've come from, where we should be going. We have 4 classmates, Kurt Emery, Gary Dolan, Dick Roshkob, and Mike Toriano, and at the 30th reunion took on the role of making us the heritage class. We built the first memorial wall and built the Southeast Asia Pavilion with the aid of experts from both North Vietnam and the United States. We're hoping that everyone goes to see it, and when they go to see it, they put their hand on it and leave their DNA on it, particularly if they were there. Worked on the Plaza of Heroes, an area where you could present medals and have classes and things like that. I think a lot more people today should be reading the history books and finding out why America is America and what people did to make us who we are. It has been quite a journey, and it's all been related, and all goes back to the Academy and my dad a little bit, aiming me towards doing something I wanted to do and something I loved and something I thought I was good at and something that would help other people. In retrospect, the Academy changed my entire life. It allowed me to do things that I never would have been able to do had I gone to General Motors Institute or Ohio State or one of those universities. I am so proud to have the classmates and grads that I know, all of whom I implicitly trust. I've never been with a better group of people than the Air Force, and that includes non-grads at Wilford Hall and you name it. The military people are very special.